Hey, what up guys, it's Dragon Ball for Life here today and I'm back with another video. Now today's video we're going to be doing part 2 of my complete guide on Versus Battle. Now my last one I mainly focused on speed and strength, arguing about travel speed, combat speed, and reactive speed, and then with strength I was talking about lifting strength and combat or striking strength. And I went to quite a bit of a depth analysis. I didn't want to do that, but I think it was necessary. Like I said, I want to make a complete thing, and there's multiple things I think you guys need to take into consideration. And yes, I'm filming this right after that one because they're still working on the car out there, so sorry for the noise once again. I just wanted to do this all at once because I don't want to forget what I was talking about. So let's get into it. Now let's talk about durability. Now luckily durability compared to strength and speed are far more simpler, how to calculate it. And unlike those two, there's no real argument between people saying, there's this or that. Durability is just how much a character can tank. Now, some people like Death Battle might have added, how much damage power they can dish out. But sometimes people put this with striking. And what I mean is, when it comes to energy attacks, because people think that, attack potency or whatever, destructive capability, they want to call it DC and AP. I'm not going to go into all that bullshit. I'm just going to try to make it more simpler for you guys. But I'm going to put it in this category too with durability, even though it is not durability. Some people might put it with attack, but usually when people talk attack or like I mentioned striking strength, that is specifically talking about physical attacks like a punch or a kick, not an energy attack. But I'm going to put it in this one. Now when it comes to durability, there's no real argument there. It's just how much a character can tank. If a character could tank bullets, missiles, fire. You might have other ones like where they're resistant or can handle high extreme temperatures or electricity. So other stuff that is not just impact force or whatever, or explosive force. So you can add taking that into consideration, but I'll make a separate thing for that. But yeah, when it comes to durability, it's simple. It's just how much they can tank. So if a character can tank a rocket, then they can easily tank it. But what is their limit? That's all you need to really find out. So we have characters that can tank planets blowing up, but they can't tank a star's explosion. So that's beyond their durability. So that's simple. When it comes to attack potency, as people call it, they put additional stuff like like all this other scientific stuff like building an accumulation of energy or whatever. That doesn't matter. I'll just simply put it as how much destructive power do they have, how much amount of destructive power they have. Now usually people use this by how much they're able to destroy or the size of the explosion that they're able to fire off. Now this is a little more complex because people need to understand that depending on certain series or characters, so yeah, when it comes to that is the fact that the attack damage, some characters fire off attacks that should destroy planets, but they only destroy a small portion of a land. And a lot of people that don't know that much about, either these fictional universes or how the system works or how, writing works when it comes to power scaling, is these are narrative points written by creators. So the battles between these powerful beings aren't too ridiculous or cause serious damage to innocent people. So if you have a good guy fighting against a bad guy, you need the good guy to be able to handle the bad guy, but you need the bad guy to be powerful. Sometimes they're so powerful they can destroy a planet, so you need the hero to be able to destroy a planet also. But you can't have their battle literally destroying a planet. Even if their attacks you can't show that, because then what's the point? The hero failed their mission, they basically got the planet destroyed. What's the point of that? So the way writers do it is they have a thing where they write something like, oh, these characters have energy control where they can fire off planet destroying attacks but minimize the blast radius to a small level. And I mentioned this in my Key Explained video, which you guys should go check that out. In that video I explained how when Vegeta did his final atonement and blew himself up, some of the arguments that people said is, you guys say the Dragon Ball characters are planet level, but even when he exploded and used up all of his energy, it just left a giant crater. It wasn't even moon level, which would put him less than Master Roshi and Dragon Ball, unless if you want to say that's an outlier. It would still be ridiculous because then that would put him below Piccolo in Saiyan Saga in Dragon Ball Z, which would also still be ridiculously illogical to say. But the argument is the fact that he contained that blast radius. And in that video, I did point out the fact that, and I did show up an image where, you know, when Vegeta was going to do it, you see a bubble forming around him and the energy is warped around the bubble. And I was like, well, that bubble is obviously, you know, an energy field or a force field. Now, the thing I was trying to explain in that video, which I'm pretty sure most of you guys got, was why would Vegeta create a barrier or a protective barrier if he's just gonna blow himself up and kill himself? That makes no sense. The only reason a character would use a protective barrier is to protect themselves. So for him to create a protective barrier while he's trying to end himself is just illogical, unless the reason why he's creating it is to minimize the energy that's going to be released and confine it into a small enough space where it doesn't destroy everything, because he was just trying to wipe out Buu, not destroy the Earth. It would be very pointless if he was to wipe out the Earth to take out Buu, you know? So that would be dumb. So that was the perfect example of a character showcasing the ability to control the blast radius of an energy attack that otherwise would have high level of damage. And we saw this with in Dragon Ball Super quite a bit, where they stated if Goku, and Beerus were, shaking the Dragon Ball macrocosm and he has the power to destroy a universe, then how come when he's fighting later on after that, like the fight against Frieza or in the Goku Black arc, they fire attacks and they're only destroying small parts of a park area or a building, and it's like, well, they contain that energy. Some people might call it BS, but I already, proved my point with that example. But yeah, they can basically lower it. So just because they didn't destroy an entire planet or show them destroying a massive amount of the, area, which you can use that for destructive power, that doesn't mean they can't do that. The best way to showcase that is, once again, using durability. Let's say there's a character that's strong enough to take a planet destroying attack, but they get hit by an attack by their opponent and their opponent is able to obliterate them, then that means that attack generates more than a planet level amount of power. So that's also another way you can do it. They can destroy celestial objects like planets and stars and stuff, but like a lot of times the writing narrative, the writer's not trying to make them destroy the planet or wipe out lives or make it dangerous, because they're supposed to be good guys. So the way they do it is usually they can damage their opponent with it, or they're damaging something where there's no life on it, whatever. So taking that into consideration. Now let's talk about stamina, because I did mention stamina when it comes to strength and speed, and this is important because you can have characters that are faster or stronger, but if they have low stamina, they can't maintain those advantages for too long before they start having a problem in a fight. And in real fights, this happens all the time. There's people out there that are fast opponents, but then they have low stamina and they use up all their energy, and then towards the end of it, the fight, or later on, they're too gassed out to throw any punches and they can't do it, and now they're just in a position where they have to block, or they had massive amount of power and they use up all that energy throwing big powerful shots to the point where their body's tired and they're breathing heavy. And you also see this when it comes to anime characters or comic book characters, where they can use up too much energy and they can become tired, and because they're tired, they're slower and they're weaker and they're easier to take down then after that. So that's something to take into consideration. Also, a thing about so the way you find out how much stamina a character has is two ways you can do it. One, how long they were able to go physically, like let's say do an exercise or fight. You can be like, well, this character was able to fight for days on end. That would mean that they have so much energy or so much stamina that it can last for days. So you can use that as an argument. But one thing I think people need to take in consideration that makes this a little more complex is the situations they're in. Because one thing I mentioned when I was watching the Vegeta versus Thor video that Death Battle made, they stated that Thor was able to fight way longer than Vegeta did. Vegeta fought for a couple hours, while Thor fought for like weeks or whatever, and he didn't get tired, so he has higher stamina. Now my argument to that was, well, who were they fighting? Vegeta was fighting a godly being, or a being that was stronger than him or on his level, so it required him to exert more energy and it depleted him faster. Whereas Thor was fighting, fodder level characters as a godly being, so obviously he wouldn't be struggling. So even if he did fight for days, it depends on their opponent. If their opponent is taking more energy out of them, it doesn't matter if they're fighting somebody, fighting longer. So that's something you need to take in consideration too. I'm not saying that that's sometimes people can use that as an excuse, saying, well, this character was fighting somebody stronger. It's like, well, if that character fought for insane amount of time, then even if they're fighting against weaker characters, they probably use up more energy. So it really depends on the circumstance or the situation. It's not just as simple as they fought this long and this character only fought this long, so that character wins. It also depends on who they fought, and that's one of the big problems I stated with that video, was the fact that their argument was, well, Thor has better stamina. But like the thing is, Thor was fighting weaker characters. He was fighting a godly being, so obviously it would exert more energy. So you need to take that into consideration. But that directly ties into speed and strength also. So if a character has bad, if they have good speed or strength, if they have bad stamina, then that will kind of ruin the speed and strength. It will work for a while, but after a while it will start to decrease because of that problem. Another thing people need to take into consideration, battle IQ. Some people do this, but I don't know why. Have you seen any YouTube shorts? It's sometimes on TikTok, but people do these videos where they do comparisons on who would win in a fight, and they do, like a stupid song in the background, and they're like, strength, speed, and then this and that. And then when they talk about IQ, they do IQ and then combat battle IQ. And for me, it's just like, why have IQ in there? Or if you're going to put battle IQ in there, there's no need to have both. Battle IQ is the only thing you need, because this is a fight. They're not taking a test or seeing who's mentally smarter. Battle IQ is what important. And what is battle IQ? Well, there's a couple of things that go into battle IQ. One is experience, because experience does add on to battle IQ. Two is how naturally well their bodies are built for fighting. So even if a character might not be as experienced as another character or as technical, the fact that they train so much, their body can naturally respond to it and win in a fight. For example, in Hajime no Ippo, we had Ippo versus I forgot what the guy's name was. He was this monkey guy, and the monkey guy was less experienced than Ippo, and Ippo was more technical of a boxer. He was a better fighter. He had better battle IQ. But the fact is, this guy has such natural talent and ability that even though he had those advantages, he was getting the upper hand on him, not just physically wise, but battle wise, because his body was able to respond to that. So I think that also aligns with it. And you can kind of use this for Goku's Master Ultra Instinct, which can bypass just battle IQ, because he won't even need to think. His body can respond, whereas the other person has to, do that. But that's one of the things. Another thing is analyzing your opponent, how fast, which character can analyze their opponents better and faster, battle strategies, and who's able to use their wit the best in combat. So that's where I think battle IQ those are the best factors to describe battle IQ, and those are some things that you need to take into consideration, is the character's battle IQ. Because you can have a character that's strong and stuff, but if they're so smart that they know how to use that person's strength against them, or devise a plan to beat that strength, then they can win. And you've seen this countless times in like animes and stuff like that, where we have a character that's super powerful or has an OP technique, but they're against an opponent who has a high battle IQ and is able to figure out their technique or their ability, or even if they're stronger than them, find a strategy on how to beat them. And that is very important. So find out who's smarter in a combat scenario. And I don't care, because the problem with like Death Battle and other people is they put up like, oh, this character has this level of IQ, like one character has this IQ and the other character has this IQ, or this character has PhDs in this and that and that. It's like, well, that doesn't do anything with combat unless they're making a mech suit that PhD requires these high level of tech, or using some science to beat them. Then yeah, I guess you can use that, but IQ and stuff like that doesn't really matter. If you look at most professional fighters are not smart. I'm not saying they're all idiots, but a lot of them are not that smart, and you don't have to be a genius. To be smart in fighting is not the same to be smart in generally in life. You can be an idiot in life and be smart as hell as a fighter. And anime is the perfect example of this. When you see, when you go to One Piece or Naruto or Dragon Ball, all these characters, the main MCs, are idiots. And I don't care what anybody says. Goku, Naruto, and Luffy are morons. But when it comes to combat, they're geniuses. Especially Goku, who's considered a genius in Dragon Ball. Piccolo and Gohan and Vegeta are significantly smarter than Goku by a mile. But Goku's considered a battle genius, even compared to them. Vegeta, even though he's smart, he was not able to devise, the best way to utilize their Super Saiyan form. And because of this, Goku was able to reach to new heights. Not only him, but also his son. And Vegeta was just like, what the hell? and just surprise him. Even Piccolo, who's a smart strategist, knows that Goku's a genius when it comes to that. So yeah, that doesn't really matter too much. Another thing is fighting ability. This will kind of align with battle IQ, but this will basically be who knows more martial arts and who is more technical and who uses their body to their full extent, like utilizes it. Now, for fighting abilities, whatever you can, like I said. Now let's go into those three things separately. Let's talk about them. For what's the thing called? For when it comes to like I guess martial arts, you just simply put like what martial arts have they trained? Kickboxing, boxing, karate, Muay Thai. You have to just simply just list what they trained in, but also talk about what level they are at. Are they expert level? Are they just rookie level? Or do they know some and stuff like that? So even if a character knows more martial arts than another character, of that said character knows less, but that character is more of an expert in all those compared to the other one is just knows a little bit, that character would win. Or even if that character knows all those to a good degree, the character might know a few, but he is such a master in those few that he can use it to his advantage and even beat characters that have more martial arts under their belt. That doesn't really always equate to being a better fighter just because they have more martial arts. I've seen people saying, well, this character knows all these martial arts. That doesn't mean that they know it to the full extent, and that doesn't mean that even if they do know it to that will work against this person unless they have shown to be able to handle people of that level and their martial art. Then technique is, and it's quite interesting because when it comes to these characters, usually technique is not always just physical attacks, it's also an energy attack or some hacks ability. So that's also something to take in consideration. But their technique, it's, what is the martial arts technique did they learn from these martial arts? Because you're saying they got taught martial arts, but what did they learn? What type of punches did they learn? What type of kicks? What type of elbows? What type of striking did they learn? Or energy attacks or whatever. That also matters for that. And the other thing was, like I said, how they use their body. Like I mentioned before, when it comes to striking, depending on which part of your body you use will generate different amount of power. So that is important and that's necessary. So like if a character cannot use their entire body parts, then they will be more at a disadvantage because even if they have higher strength with their punching, if the other person knows how to do use their other parts, then they can at least equate for that or have more of an advantage of that. So yeah. It also depends on how they use the rest of their body. Are they more of a just, person who hits with their hands? Are they just more with their feet? Are they more with their head? So those are also other things you need to take into consideration. Also, one thing I want to mention that I just realized now that I forgot to mention in my strength analysis was lifting strength does equate for one specific thing, and that is grappling or grip strength. Now, if a character can, let's say, because striking strength, you don't need to really lift to be a hard striker. There's different types of training you can do and conditioning to get stronger there. But when it comes to lifting strength, that does directly correlate to grappling. Now, some people, for natural people, you might have like natural genetic differences. So somebody might not even need to lift to be stronger than you even in grappling, but usually lifting weights can help out. So bodybuilders and strongmen might not be good when it comes to striking, but if they were to grab onto their opponent, then grapple them, even if they don't have proper technique, they'll have more of an advantage. And if they were taught proper technique, then even the person, if they have even more experience than them, or technical fighting, the guy might have less, but he also has the lifting strength on top of that, so that also helps out quite considerably there. So that's one thing I want to mention. But that also depends on, would it be helpful in a fight? Like, these characters can grab on, but if the character can, shoot out energy from their body, if you grab onto them, they can just, generate energy out of their body and basically destroy the person. And, basically destroy the person. So grappling could be important, but like I said, take into consideration, because let's say the guy is like punching, but if he grabs onto them, you can break their bones or squeeze the life out of them, wherever. But yeah, going back onto the technique, it depends on if you know or understand they know how to use all their body parts. Because some characters are specifically just punch. They do specifically punching. Other characters just do specifically kicking, and then some characters do all the striking attacks, and some might do a little more than the others. Or Also, they might do grappling in it, so they might have striking or grappling on top of that. So you need to take into consideration how they use their body as a whole too, when it comes to fighting and technique and stuff. The other things, there's two things that also are important when it comes to speed, because people usually think, well, speed in a fight, all it matters about how fast you are. But there's two really important things. One is accuracy. The other thing is timing. Now, accuracy basically, when you watch boxing, they showcase how many punches actually hit their mark, because they have like two things. They have how many punches were thrown and how many punches actually landed. A person could throw a lot of punches, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be very accurate. So there's a lot of boxers out there that throw a lot of punches, like hundreds of punches, but they miss majority of them, so they have a bad accuracy rating. And then there's other ones that throw less, but they have a good accuracy rating, and it depends on the timing specifically to do that. And this is important with speed, because people think, well, if the character can hit really fast and they will able to hit their opponent, but it's like, how accurate are they with their attacks and how well is their timing? Now, the accuracy, that thing is a little bit more difficult. I wouldn't go too in depth with that. I'll just say, well, unless if we've seen quite considerably these characters have shown to miss their attacks quite a bit, then you can use that. But normally it's kind of hard to do that, because it's not like a real fight where you have actual analysis of the how many misses they had. But when it comes to timing, that's something easily you can do, because a lot of times writers, especially in manga, they have a character who's fighting an opponent who's too fast for them or too good for them, and they are, since they're experienced and really great fighters, they can time out their opponent's attack, and even though their opponent might be faster, they're able to hit them more, so that helps out. And this is quite a little bit touched upon in comic books with the Flash. There was one instance where Barry Allen was fighting his future self, and his future self basically tells him, he's like, all you do is rely on your speed. You don't even know how to fight. He's like, you think fighting is all just about using speed? He's like, if you really want to win or be dangerous, you need to learn how to fight. And basically what he was trying to explain to him is that you can move at super speed, but even though you're against an opponent you're faster than him, if they have good enough timing and accuracy, they can hit you still. And when it comes to like a manga or anime, you see this countless times where the character is getting attacked by a character and then they time it out and beat them. For example, Goku versus Dispo in the Tournament of Power. Dispo was speed blitzing everybody, and Goku was struggling to keep up. But Goku explained throughout the fight that when the fight was progressing, even though he wasn't able to hit him at first, later on, he was able to get contact with him and hit him and punch him and kick him, and even transition from Super Saiyan God to Super Saiyan Blue at the moment he was about to attack. And Dispo was just like, what the hell? How were you able to do that? And Goku was able to predict his movement because it was very linear and very basic, and he was able to time it because of that. So he was able to time and assess the situation, which is battle IQ and precision with it, and then use it to get an accurate hit on the person. So even though Dispo was faster than Goku, Goku was smart enough to be able to be more perceptive and able to understand it. And also, the other thing that will help out for that is if the character is durable enough, because if the character is too fast and they knock them out right away, then they can't do anything. But if the character is durable enough to take their attacks, then they can read their movements. And this is important because if there's a character, let's say, who is fast and they don't know how to fight, and their movements are very basic, if they're against an opponent that might not be as fast as them, but if they have a decent enough level of durability or be able to protect themselves anyway, they'll be able to read up the other person even if they're faster, and be able to create a countermeasure to them and accurately time out their attacks and hit them. So Goku, the dangerous thing about him is, even if he's fighting against a character that's faster than him, he has the experience, he has the battle IQ, he has the combat, and he has the all these other things that helps him out, and he has been specifically shown to be smart enough to time his opponent and read their movements. So if you have a character that can read an opponent's movements, not even talking about like mind reading, if they can read their movements and anticipate and analyze and stuff like that, then that will also help them out. So when it comes to speed, usually as a fighter, when you talk about speed or like hitting an opponent, you talk about three things. You talk about speed, accuracy, and then timing. Timing and speed can help out with your accuracy. If you're fast, you can hit fast, but you need to time it out too. And some fighters might be a little bit slower, but even if they're slower, they're able to hit and hurt faster opponents. Like for example, Canelo Alvarez, he's more of a counter striker, and most counter strikers are good with timing and precision. What they do is they're not fast. Well, they can be, but usually they're not that fast. And what they do is they wait out the attacks so they can read their opponent. And once then they've read up their movements, they get their time and rhythm, and they're able to get it. They're able to, intercept or basically interrupt their rhythm while they're fighting, and then basically cancel it out or stop it in the middle. So if they're throwing punches in a combination, they're able to read their combination and also you time it out, then they can time in between it and do counterattacks and take them out. And that's important because also for strength, counterattacks can be very, very advantageous. And the reason why I say this is even if you're weaker, the great thing about counterattacks is it uses your opponent's own strength against them. So when you're moving, you're using your momentum and your speed. So if I'm throwing a punch, I'm using my momentum. But if an opponent sees that, is able to dodge it, and then hit me while I'm throwing the punch moving in, the damage that I'll receive will not be only equivalent to the amount of damage that they send out from their attack, but also the amount of damage that I was trying to deal to them because I was moving into it. So I take the brunt of their attack and some of my own attack. So basically I help give them additional power. So even if a character doesn't hit that hard compared to another character, if they're able to time it out, not only would they be able to get more hits on that person, but also they're able to generate more power because the character is basically helping them and assisting them with giving them more additional power by moving in and not being able to dodge it. So that's also very important to take into consideration. And like I said, I want to make this as thorough and as in-depth as possible because I know a lot of you guys might be like, well, you need a little more and stuff. So I want to explain as much as possible. I know it can be a little bit too much and you just want to be like, oh, okay, this is a little too much. So I understand that, but I just want to explain this perfectly for you guys. I'm trying to think about other stuff. I guess you can also use gadgets because not every character has just powers. A lot of characters use gadgets. You need also to take into consideration their gadgets. Two ways you can look at it is one, who has the better gadgets and more useful, and two, who knows how to use those gadgets better to their full extent. Because some characters can have less gadgets or less equipment, but if they're able to use that equipment better and more precise or more strategically, they can win a fight more than just, oh, I have a bunch of gadgets, but I just randomly use them whenever. So that also matters when it comes to that. I'm trying to think about some of the other, categories you can put in. Like I said, I might forget this and I'll make multiple other parts, additional bonus parts, whatever I can call it, to add on. But for right now, I think those are the good ones, best ones for this part. There's some more stuff that I can cover. One thing in big particular that I want to cover that I think is not talked about too much, and it's different than those other ones because those other ones are categories that you can put in there, like strength, speed, durability, stamina, energy projection, whatever. Those are stuff that you can use, but there's another thing I want to talk about that's a little bit more in depth and will make these debates a little bit more I guess you can say complex than what a lot of people think it is. But that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for next time.